Everyone thinks buying a 3D printer and selling what it makes is basically free money. Buy a magic box, feed it plastic spaghetti, watch dollars come out the other end while you nap. Almost no one knows that one operator who tried exactly this for around 8 months made roughly $3,600 in total revenue, kept somewhere around 8% of it as actual profit, and walked away calling it a job, not a business, which is a very polite way of saying the magic box lied to him. The problem isn't the printer is the easy part. The problem is everything nobody puts in the thumbnail. Getting started is genuinely cheap compared to almost everything else we've covered. A single printer paired with a laptop you already own can start around $750. A small 2 to 3 printer setup, starter filament, spare nozzles and belts, an enclosure, shipping supplies, runs $1,800 to $2,800. That's the entire barrier to entry for a real side hustle. But there's a second version of this business that looks nothing like the first. Industrial-grade operations, the kind doing certified rapid tooling for real manufacturing clients, need somewhere around $550,000 or more in capital equipment alone, with total startup capital reaching close to $1.85 million once you include working capital and the operating losses before break-even, which for one modeled operation landed around 14 months after launch. Same industry name, two completely different businesses hiding under it. None of those printer numbers include what it actually costs to run this as a real registered business instead of a garage hobby. A basic business license in the US typically runs $50 to a few $100s a year, depending on the city and state. Then there's the shop itself. A small workshop or retail unit big enough for a real print farm typically runs anywhere from a few hundred to a couple $1,000s a month in rent before you've printed a single item. If you hire even one part-time person to help with packing, quality control, or customer messages, that's another real monthly cost stacking on top. And remember, this was the exact expense that quietly killed the 8-month operator's margins in the first place. And electricity adds up fast once you're running multiple printers for hours at a time every single day, whether or not anything's sold that week. None of these costs show up in a printer's price tag. All of them show up on the bank statement. Let's make this simple. No percentages, just dollars. A typical small print uses somewhere around $2 worth of filament and takes roughly 3 hours on the machine. Most print-for-hire shops price around 10 times the material cost, plus a few dollars per print hour. So that print might sell for somewhere around $29. Subtract roughly $2 in material and maybe 30 cents in electricity, and you're looking at somewhere around $26 in profit on that one print before anything else is counted. That before anything else part is the whole story. Once you subtract the time spent packing it, messaging the customer, fixing the print that failed halfway through, and the platform's cut if you sold it on Etsy or Amazon, that $26 shrinks fast. This is exactly why gross profit per print looks fantastic and real monthly take-home often doesn't. Here's the trap. Printing hardware parallelizes. Buy 5 printers, run 5 jobs at once. Your hands do not parallelize. Packing, shipping, customer service, quality control, and chasing down failed prints all still happen one order at a time, no matter how many machines are humming in the next room. That operator who netted somewhere around 8% over roughly 8 months didn't fail because the printers broke. He failed because the per-order human time never shrank, no matter how much hardware he added. Then there's the market itself. Generic products, fidget toys, dragons, planters, are already selling for around $2 each on Etsy and Amazon, undercut by large-scale Chinese print farms operating at a completely different cost structure. If the thing you're printing is also available on AliExpress for a fraction of what it costs you to make it, you're not competing on quality. You're just losing slower. The print farms that actually work well tend to avoid this entirely. Niche B2B jobs, custom prototypes, functional parts with no direct competitor, things a generic overseas farm has no reason to bother making. Here's what almost never makes it into the pitch. Owning the printer isn't the business. Finding someone willing to pay you is the business, and that's the part most people underestimate completely. Plenty of operators buy the machine, upload a few listings, and then sit there for months wondering why nothing sells. Because a printer sitting in a garage has zero marketing behind it on its own. The operators who actually make real money tend to find it in an unexpected place, not selling one-off items to strangers online, but landing private contracts, designing and producing a product for another brand or business that then sells it under their own name, sometimes through a formal agreement that never gets talked about publicly. That's a completely different business than the print and hope it sells on Etsy model. It's B2B relationship building and sales, with the printer just being the tool that fulfills it. If you're not actively finding customers through outreach, local businesses, or word of mouth, the best printer in the world just makes very expensive plastic nobody buys. There's one more familiar problem here, and if you watched our gaming cafe video, you already know this shape. A decent consumer 3D printer now costs a few $100s. Every potential customer who prints something more than once or twice eventually asks the same question. Why keep paying someone else when I could just buy the machine myself? The businesses that survive this aren't selling access to a printer. They're selling design work, speed, reliability, and finish. Run honestly and part-time, this business tends to clear somewhere between $500 and $2,500 a month in real profit after materials, electricity, failed prints, and platform fees. Full-time operations with real sales discipline, meaning they're not underpricing design time and not chasing the same saturated generic categories everyone else is stuck in, can realistically reach $5,000 to $15,000 a month. The gap between those two outcomes isn't luck. It's almost entirely about what you choose to print and who you sell it to. So if you do decide to start a 3D printing business, understand what you're actually signing up for. The entry price is genuinely low. A few hundred to a few $1,000s gets you in the room. But the printer was never the business. The business is everything that happens after the print finishes. The packing, the pricing, the customer who wants a refund, and the discipline to walk away from the products everyone else is already racing to the bottom on. And that's the economics they never put on the label.